Oh, I feel like throwing up. That's the position. So he just comes from here and does the magic. The pressure that you put on giving your man a BJ is very important. It has to be tight. It has to be firm, but not so firm that it hurts them. Moderation is key, but it has to be firm enough that they feel the... I already feel like throwing up. Damn. Hey guys, welcome to my channel. In this episode, I will tell you how to avoid using teeth when you blow your man's trumpet. Without waste of time, let's get into it. Let's just dive into it. Number one, try to slow down. That's the first tip to avoid using your teeth during head job. I think that it might seem pretty basic because I know sometimes we look for complicated answers when we don't need to. So slow down, honey, slow down, but make sure that your lips are firmly wrapped around his joystick so that he can feel the intensity. Also, while you are on it, please pay attention to where your mouth is and what your mouth is doing. Because half the time, your mind might just drift, and that's where you sleep with your teeth. So it's very important that you take more control over your movement instead of letting autopilot take over. And that may be all it takes to keep your partner's joystick away from your teeth. Okay. Number two, keep it shallow. And this is what I mean by keeping it shallow. If your back teeth, that's your molar, are scraping your partner's joystick, don't just bump your head so far down the shaft of your man's joystick. You could just wrap your hand around his shaft, okay? Or just place a cock ring on your partner's joystick to act as a buffer if you struggle with this type of situation. Number three, use lube. I mean, this is very important. The best way for you to avoid teeth scraping or friction during fellatio is to ensure things are super wet, super sloppy. Speed might work, but lube is also your friend, especially if it's a flavored type of lube, because if things are slippery enough, a little tooth contact is less unlikely to be uncomfortable, or you would just end up, leaving marks on the old man's weapon of mass destruction. Okay, and you don't want that. Number four, and this is very important, which is to try to wrap your, lips over your teeth. Wrap your lips over your teeth. And trust me, this here is a classic tip to prevent your teeth from touching your man's joystick during head. It's not a perfect solution, however, but wrapping your lips around your teeth means less room for your man's joystick to brush through your teeth. Do you understand? Of course, his size matters too, as it may be impossible to use this type of technique, especially if your man is too well endowed or his width is wide. Okay. Number five, keep your partner still. Sometimes there's nothing you do that leads to grazing your partner's joystick with your teeth. Instead, your partner's movement, including thrusting, can cause this to happen. Oftentimes, this, leads to scraping with the teeth in the back of your mouth. That's the molars. So tell your partner to keep still, or you just open your mouth wide if he's the kind that's thrusting your mouth. But still make sure that your tongue lays flat on your front teeth as well, like flat. You see, now your tongue is covering the lower teeth, all right? It's covering lower teeth. You're not opening your mouth like this and leaving the teeth there. You're covering here and the top. Do you get? So less friction with your teeth, and you're also making sure that your tongue is flat enough to lay on top of your molar if you can. You can see that my tongue is covering my molar, right? And so this leads me to the next point, which is use your tongue. So try sticking your tongue out slightly and using it as a cushion between your man's joystick and the bottom teeth, just like I showed you earlier. You could also try using your tongue to adjust the angle of his joystick in your mouth so that it avoids hitting, your upper teeth. Of course, you won't be able to swirl or stroke with your tongue with this type of technique. So you may only want to use it part of the time, but it's still a good tool to keep in your toolbox. Number 7, try different positions. There are 2 very common BJ position. The first is, the kneeling position with you on your knees, with them standing, but they could also be seated. All right. Then the second very common position, called the regular BJ position, is when your man is laying down on his back in bed and you're lying below between his spread out legs. But there are a bunch of different positions that might work pretty much well or better if your teeth is becoming a problem during head, like the 69 position. It changes the angle of your neck as you give head. And many women find this position helpful because it helps them to avoid using their teeth during oral. It's also perfect if you want your partner to eat your juicy part while you're giving them head too. So it's a reciprocal kind of position, and I love it. It's very intimate. It's very, very, very vulnerable. Now, alternatively, you may want to use the lie back position for your head jobs, where you lay on the bed or on the sofa with your head hanging down, and having your partner penetrate your mouth. Although they will have to do more of the work in this position, but this one can also require more trust, as you will be in a very vulnerable position. But please, in this position, if you can't take his depth of thrust and it makes you feel like you want to throw up, you need to tap out, okay? So that you don't throw up and choke on your vomit. We're not trying to die from giving anyone head. And this is what I mean by this position. So this is a laid back, inverted position. I'm sure it's an inverted position, right? Like, right. Oh, I feel like throwing up. So that's the position. So he just comes from here and does the magic. That's not a pretty position, honestly, though. I already feel like throwing up. Damn. Now, number 8, only take the tip if, the other techniques that I have given you don't work for you. So try only taking the tip into your mouth, which may be smaller than the shaft of the joystick. Just focus on using your lips and the tip of your tongue. You could swirl your tongue around the head of his joystick, also known as a glans. You could also tap your tongue against, your man's joystick, or tap his joystick against your tongue. Tap, tap, tap. Then suck on the head. You could wet the head of the joystick and then blow over it to give it a cooling sensation. And then stroke his joystick with your hand while you're doing that to the tip of his joystick. And you could use a twisting motion. You could use a twisting motion when stroking the shaft of his rod. Do you get what I mean? Plus, if you have an open-ended stroker, you could use it on the shaft and stroke him. You see why you need to experiment with joystick, right? You could use your tongue to also flick your partner's frenulum. The frenulum is the V on the side of your man's cap. If you check your man's cap, there's this V, whatever. It's very sensitive. It's similar to that of the clit. Number 9, use a condom. Now, this isn't a foolproof way to stop using your teeth during sex, but it can help reduce any pain it causes your partner in case your teeth scrapes or touches or grazes your partner's joystick. Now, the good side about using a condom is that you will just only snag or scrape the material and not your partner's joystick. Not everyone can stand having latex in their mouth. I know that for sure. But if you can, you will also get extra protection against STIs, which you absolutely can transmit via, oral sex. Number 10, cover your teeth during oral. Some novelty companies made candy teeth covers, which you can wear during head to prevent them from being too toothy. Plus, they make giving heads or giving oral a lot tastier. Number 11, edge your partner. Some people like receiving pain during sex. They're known as masochists, right? Which means you may not have to hide your teeth during sex. So instead, You just need to carefully balance the pleasure and pain that you give to your partner. The more aroused someone is, the more pain they can handle. Now, one way to do this is through edging. Edging is a technique where you bring your partner close to the edge of orgasm without letting them get off. It's a perfect way to work someone into a frenzy. So your partner might not even realize a little grazing if you do it right. Number 12, try something that I call a gag. Some gags are designed to keep your mouth open and accessible, and it works well if you've got a kink or a fetish. Like, for example, you have the O-ring gags, which especially can help if you struggle with teeth while going down on your partner, because they force your mouth to open wider. And then number 13, you need to learn how to give a sleek hand job. Now, if your partner likes the wetness of a BJ, try a hand job with plenty of lube. Silicone-based lube is especially good for staying slippery without getting sticky. However, you could also try a stimulating lubricant to make things interesting. Try experimenting with thinner and, thicker lube too. For me, I feel like thicker lube, don't go for lubes that dry easily and then become so sticky. It just makes everything a lot more messier, and just not so smooth, basically. All right, so that would be it. That's how to prevent yourself from using your teeth on your partner's joystick. But before I go, have this at the back of your mind that the more wet it is, the better. Don't go with moderate saliva. Always learn how to spit on it if you have to spit, if you're not the type to use lube. But the thing with saliva is that it dries up quicker. But learn to spit on it, make it really sloppy. The nastier, the better. It might look really nasty to you, but it's really good because you allow for smooth, greasy movement of your head, along his shaft and along his joystick, and the more sensation he will get. And also a take home here is, the pressure that you put on giving your man a BJ is very important. It has to be tight. It has to be firm, but not so firm that it hurts them. Moderation is key, but it has to be firm enough that they feel the tightness around their joystick. Do you get what I mean? Yeah, the tighter it is, the quicker it is for them to come. Do you get? All right. Thank you so much for taking out time to watch my channel. Don't forget to subscribe, hit the notification bell to get notified whenever I post a video here. Okay? Until I come your way tomorrow, know that I love you. Bye.